What do you call this vehicle? Now, if you're into transit, you might call it a people mover, or maybe an automated people mover if you're really picky. The average traveler, meanwhile, might call it a range of things: an air train, a sky train, an airport shuttle, or maybe literally just a train. But if, like the majority of my viewers, you're in the US, then it's not too uncommon to hear this type of vehicle referred to as a tram, or even a monorail. See the Mandalay Bay tram in Las Vegas, which is its official name, and even casually you'll hear these things referred to with those terms. And as someone that's been to other places, when I think of trams and monorails, people movers do not come to mind at all. Now, I should stop and quickly say, I'm a passionate transit advocate, sure, but I'm also a linguist, and the very first thing they teach you in Ling 101 is that prescriptivism is bad. Now, for the uninitiated, that's someone who tells you how a language should be according to some preconceived notion, while linguists try to be the opposite. Rules about language describing things people already do, in other words, descriptivism. If you want to call people movers trams, go for it. That's not the point of this video. This is more of a conversation about whether transit terminology is even productive for transit discourse. Now, the really low-hanging fruit here is to say that Americans just don't understand public transit, and that's not the worst argument in the world, but that's not a fair assessment in my opinion of what's going on here. Though it does seem like this is something that happens mainly in the context of American transit networks. For example, how many times have you seen a transit agency that call themselves Metro that don't operate what we think of as metros, i.e. grade separated frequent heavy rail? There's Valley Metro in Phoenix, Metro, all caps in Houston, and my personal favorite, King County Metro in Seattle. And even outside of the Anglosphere, there are examples of this. Here's a light rail system called Metro in Almada, just outside of Lisbon. Video on that city coming really soon, stay tuned. But to say that these transit agencies don't deserve to use the word Metro in their name has always been a little bit baffling to me. The term Metro was first used as a shortening of Paris Metropolitan Railway Company, which itself is a translation of London's first underground line. It just so happens that because of how popular the Paris Metro has become, the word Metro is now the global standard for systems like it. For most of the non-heavy rail transit operators that call themselves Metro, it's usually also a shortening of the word Metropolitan, which has nothing to do with railways. Now, you could make a case that transit labels are still useful in terms of guiding what a project should be, and on that I'd agree. A statement like, LA's new Sepulveda line should be heavy rail, is deliberately made to push something in a certain direction. Given the geography of the area and the kind of trips that are expected, something akin to heavy rail, or dare I say it, a metro, makes the most sense. Not a monorail, please don't do that. Seriously, please don't do it. But even within these broad categories, there will always be some small quirks that set apart a project or era of projects. And I think that is something that terms will never be able to summarize. I think the place that we're seeing this the most is with bus rapid transit. There seems to be a wide range of bus lines that pop up and call themselves BRT, while many critics point out that they lack the features that make something true BRT. They'll refer to the ITTP scoring system and use that to rate how good the project is. And this is totally understandable. BRT is a rather janky transit mode, and BRT creep is a real problem. That's when the shiny new features that are promised don't end up getting delivered, and what you just end up with is a slightly fancier ordinary bus. Then I guess the question becomes, where do you draw the line between that and true BRT? And as with a lot of things in life, including the person that you're listening to right now, it's not always binary. The Van Ness line in San Francisco, for example, lacks level boarding because of how expensive utility relocation was. Payment is also handled on-board, not off-board, and the new infrastructure doesn't span the entirety of the 49 line. I imagine for those reasons it wouldn't do too well on a scoring system, but it still reduced travel times and caused a boom in ridership. That, I think, is worthy of credit. Whether or not it's true BRT is often just a matter of semantics and a bit of transit elitism, maybe. The impact has still been very positive. Staying in the Bay, another place to look is the Big Three Great Societies era US metro systems. I don't think they get enough credit globally for being decades ahead of their time. As many cities around the world, especially in Asia now, are building high-speed metros, these right here were some of the world's first. This type of rapid transit suits the geography of American cities in a post-automobile world perfectly. While offering plenty of capacity in the city centers, they have pretty broad coverage to many suburban areas and can thus pull people in from quite far. It is very important to set that context and time period because many of the design features that we see on these systems follow naturally from it. The trains are faster than traditional subways or metros at 70 plus miles per hour or 110 kilometers per hour because they were designed to be faster than cars, with the speed limit in most interstates being around 60 miles per hour or 100 kilometers per hour. The networks are very radial because suburban commuters are the main focus. The station spacing is wider because trains need to spend more time at top speed to be worth it over driving. Clearly then, these three systems feel very different, and indeed are very different, to more traditional subways in the US, such as those in New York and Boston, when you factor in the speed, train size, and network design. So if they're not subways or metros, then what are they? Well, many transit fans like to compare them to a staple of cities in the German-speaking world, the S-Bahn. Now, I'd never ridden one of these before, so I don't have any personal tales from the S-Bahn. Oh god, I said the thing. Oh no, I said the thing!
Whoa, what's that? Hey all, Jamie here.
Hey there, welcome to this totally unscripted video.
Hi Tansy, thank you so much for having me on the channel. So hi everyone, I'm Jamie and welcome to the magical wonderful world of S-Bahn networks. A proud creation of the same country that brought you Doc Martens, Fanta, and Volkswagen. Well, please don't ask why any of those were invented. Or by who. Anyways, S-Bahn systems come in 3 fun flavors that we see not just in the German-speaking world, but all across Europe. Yes, even in places such as Warsaw, Prague, Copenhagen, and Brussels, they all have S-train networks of their own. And yes, another one in Brussels is something's called an RAR, but bleg. You probably best know the first variety of S-Bahn if you've heard the term S-Bahn, and it's the type you'd find in most major German cities, most major of major ones. Namely Berlin, Hamburg, and Munich, or München if you're feeling a bit Deutsch. These S-Bahn systems run tunneled or elevated in city centers, if sharing some station space from time to time with more regional trains, allowing them to be used as even higher capacity metros with, even on many lines, metro-esque frequencies. We're talking about, thanks to rampant interlining, trains coming every couple of minutes or so at peak. But then S-Bahn systems shine when they leave the city center. From there, they can branch out to surrounding suburbs or outlying towns, providing high-capacity suburban rail service, if definitely not as frequent as in the city center proper. And as someone who lives on one of the ends of Hamburg's S5 line, let me tell you, it's very much so less frequent than the city center at times. Oh, that 1 hour frequency on Sunday is going to make me cry. But on the whole, S-Bahn networks are great. I love these things. They're one of the coolest varieties of train networks out there, and it's why I'm proud to be Mrs. Tales from the S-Bahn. But the thing is, there's only one of 3 types of S-Bahn systems I've just covered. See, some S-Bahn networks are truly just high-capacity suburban rail networks that want to have that cool S-Bahn branding. They have dedicated numbers of Metro S trains, sure, but many have frequency as low as every hour or so and might not necessarily even just serve one metro area, but rather go from city to city in a bigger metro area. While that first type is what most people would think of as an S-Bahn, the second one, the less centralized variety, is actually much more common. That's where you'll find places such as Bremen with the Bremen-Regio S-Bahn, Leipzig with S-Bahn Mitteldeutschland, which I guess also covers like Halle, or even just in the region of Vorarlberg, Austria, with its weird-ass network that stretches into 3 different adjacent countries, the line through Liechtenstein, which, by the way, only runs during rush hours? What the hell? But tying back to the main idea of this video, did you know that there are many systems that don't fit the conventional definitions of an S-Bahn that are still called S-Bahn networks? They're just normal regional trains or something else entirely, but they all want to see cool in German, I guess. So they use the S-Bahn moniker. That's where we get things such as Erfurt with their one former S-Bahn line that was just one weird diesel commuter line. And we also get that one tram in Zurich that's given an S-Bahn number for some reason. Maybe this even goes just beyond the whole S-Bahn descriptor. I mean, at its core, if we go way back, the term S-Bahn stands for Schnellbahn, fast train. Except in Karlsruhe, where it applies to their trams, which are actually tram trains that sometimes run on city streets and sometimes run on proper heavy rail lines. So in that case, the S stands for Stadtbahn. And yes, those do use S-Bahn S numbers, so technically that's an S-Bahn. Words truly just mean whatever the hell we want them to, don't they? And if you're not super familiar with German trains and all of this was just a bunch of word salad, I'm so sorry. But I think terms like these are very important, if perhaps something a lot of people stick too hard to. Look, being strict with terminology is good with talking with railway people or with actual urban planners, and having terms for things are good just for the sake of being able to say, yeah, that's what that thing is. But at the end of the day, the largest target audience we need to sell transit to are people who may be using it every day or even just on the fence as to why it's needed at all. Not foamers. And I say this as a foamer. Or maybe I'm a rail fan. Or maybe I'm a train spotter in it. Or maybe I'm just a very passionate transit advocate. Look, the point is if it helps you market your system or even just your proposed system, get people to vote for it or throw money at it, then maybe call it a fancy fast tram and S-Bahn or your weird streetcar light rail. At least that's how I see it from an advocacy perspective. Okay, Jamie out.
So back to the example from the start. Why are people movers called trams or monorails in American English sometimes? I couldn't really find a clear answer, but my best guess is just that tram became adapted to mean anything that's smaller than a subway or mainline train. And as for monorail, perhaps that comes from a time when a lot of US cities wanted monorails, and people movers do kind of look futuristic in the same way that monorails do. Driverless tiny pods that shuttle you around airports, theme parks, and in Miami's case, literal downtown. After all, the tracks on people movers do not look like normal rails. Some of them kind of look like they only have one rail, at least from the point of view of someone who's never heard of linear induction motors and automated guideway technology. And yeah, many people who ride transit, indeed most people who ride transit, haven't heard of the ins and outs of how things work under the hood. If your system is functional enough to serve its goals and get you places worth getting to, does it really matter what you call it? If branding something a different way helps to market it better and push it towards voters, then again, it doesn't matter what you call it. A majority of regular BART riders have no idea what an S-Bahn even is. Maybe they just see it as a subway that happens to have bigger trains and go into deeper suburbs. And that's fine. So no, transit names don't really matter. But seriously, people movers are not monorails. Stop calling them that. Seriously, come on.